Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Universal Furniture. My name is Neil McKenzie. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing here at the company, and you guys are in the Learning Center, and we appreciate you coming in. I'm sorry. We have had 16 events over 5 days. They touch on a number of different topics. We have a lot of great panels, great conversation, hopefully that can impact your business, meet some new friends, and leave here with something other than just buying a lot of furniture. But that's good too. The building itself is 115,000 square feet, 3 floors, tons of new product. On floor 3, we actually have our collection with Erin that you can check out. It's on our website now. You can pre-order, which she would encourage you to do often. And we also have a new introduction with Coastal Living Magazine called Weekender, which would definitely have been a hit and encourage you to check out. On floor 2, we have some in-stock looks with Miranda Kerr Home. And on floor 3, we have our special order upholstery offering that is shipping in 6 to 8 weeks out of Conover, North Carolina. We also have the Designers Lounge, which has some fun swag bags and some fun activations taking place in there. We also have the Beauty Bar, so if you want to get a hair touch-up, you can do that as well before you hit the town tonight. And it's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of fun things happening. And then if you want to see anything in the showroom after this, just please check in at the front desk. They'll be able to get you connected and on your way. And then we do tag everything in the showroom, and we have some scanners, so you can actually scan everything, add it to a wish list, hand that scanner back in before you leave, and then you'll get an email with everything that you scan. So it makes it really easy. So very easy to navigate your way around market. So we're thrilled to have such a great panel of distinguished designers and guests. And Diane Falvey from Furniture, Lighting, and Decor, who's the editor-in-chief, is going to lead that conversation. And I'll kind of kick it over to you to introduce everybody and get going. So thank you again for visiting with us.
Thanks so much, Neil. And thank you to our panelists, and thank you for inviting me to be on this panel. So I'll start with saying this is my 6th panel at High Point Market this week. So I'm so excited it's my last one. But it is also such a great one. So I can't ask for what a great, great panel. And also, we're talking about luxury for less, which is so much that look for less, right? Yep. Which is such an important topic for every designer that's in this room. So I am fortunate enough to be here with Christy Nelson, Tom Felicia, Megan Moulton, and Erin Vlencich. And I'm going to let you guys talk about your businesses a little bit. All of these panelists are just top-notch designers, and they're also product developers and have their own collections throughout markets. So it's something that we can touch on. We can touch on this topic from the side of when you're working in an interior design with a client, and also from the side of when you're creating your own product, when you're doing your own product development, how do you find that balance so that when other designers and retailers find your product, they can find that balance as well. So I'm really excited. This is going to be fun. Christy, tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Christy Nelson, KM Nelson Design. I have offices in California and in North Carolina. And I recently moved, so I'm primarily now in North Carolina, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is an exciting change. So I get to enjoy the best of both worlds. And I do high-end residential and commercial. And I now have my 2nd collection with Chelsea House, which is very exciting.
That's great. That's great.
That's awesome. Hi, I'm Tom Felicia.
Nobody knows who you are. So
I'm the father of this. I'm the father of this ill-behaved rescue dog named Lago, and Laura. This is Laura Lafreniere. We work together. I have a design firm in New York City called Tom Felicia Incorporated. We do residential and commercial design. We also have a showroom in New York called Sedgwick and Brattle, which is in the New York Design Center at 200 Lex. And we also have the Tom Felicia Home Collection, which we have furniture, case goods and upholstery with Vanguard, and with Eastern accents, and Wendover art, and Fazy rugs, and a variety of other licensed partners that we are very fortunate to be working with and be a part of High Point. And I'm a Taurus. I love long walks in the park. I'm single, ready to mingle. No, I'm just kidding.
You just launched with Cyan this
Yes, and we're launching our sort of our relationship this market, and we are going to be showing our new product with Cyan in August. I'm sorry, August, in October. And and
market are you
also
going
we're
to?
same thing with Visual Comfort and Generation. So we're kind of all exciting, fun, cool things.
Not busy at all.
Trying to just, I think, we're just trying to keep ourselves really focused on having a bad dog and run around town.
Thank you, Tom. Megan, tell us a little bit about you.
Love it. I'm a Taurus too, and
Nice.
Me too, by the way. Yeah.
and I have I have two Taurus daughters as well. So my poor husband sitting over here, being a wonderful Instagram husband and business operations manager that he is. Very very grateful. So I'm a newbie. I think you could say I started my business just 5 years ago. It was a 180 change, career change in life. I did medical sales for 12 years and purchased my first home, started designing it and sharing that on social media, and quickly gained a following and a liking to what I was doing, and decided to take that leap of faith and quit my job and start my business. So fast forward, we have a luxury interior design business in Charleston, South Carolina called Megan Moulton. And we also have our shop, which is a brick and mortar retail shop. It's actually a shoppable warehouse, which is really cool and different. And then we have our online shop. It's been just an unbelievable experience for me getting to do this career in interior design. To be honest, like I never in a million years would have thought that this is what I would be doing every day. And I love what I do. And I was very fortunate to get my first product collection with Mitzi Lighting under Hudson Valley. It launched last High Point in October. And talk about getting the luxury look for less. The new Tastemaker collections are just beautiful and amazing, and it's been such a fun experience. So please check that out while you're here.
Fabulous.
Erin, another really like not busy person over there. Yeah.
I'm married to a Taurus, so there you go. I'm Erin V. I have an interior design business based in Los Angeles for 20 years now, which is wild to say, but yes, 20 years. And I've been coming to High Point for 22 years. So I've definitely seen its evolution. Make custom furniture in Los Angeles under the Erin V label. So high-end, bespoke, made to order in design center showrooms around the country, and have a wonderful collection here at Universal, which I'm absolutely thrilled with. So please check it out if you haven't already. I have furniture as well with Ambella Home. I have 2 rug collections, one with Creative Touch, which is here in the Suites at Market Square, out of New Jersey, and then the other with Maribon Rugs in Los Angeles. I just launched window coverings with Hartman and Forbes, so that's newly out. And then working on quite a few others. In addition, I have a Hollywood Hills with Baldwin Hardware. So if you've seen their door hardware or cabinet hardware, Hollywood Hills, that's mine. And yeah, just love everything design. Along the way, I was frustrated by the back end process of the software we had at our fingertips. So I started Style Row. So it's incredible workflow management, project management, client presentations, budgets, and accounting that actually saves you time and is a beautiful place to work. I think that's it. We're going to go with that.
Nice.
Okay.
Well
Nothing
done.
else. You're sure there's not,
Just for the record, I am not a Taurus. No one in my family is Taurus, including my dog. So just, yeah.
you're a lucky woman. Yes. Good for you.
A good thing.
Erin, why don't we start with you? So obviously there's luxury design and you have luxury clients, and then there's budgets, right? And it doesn't matter, from what I've heard from you guys, it doesn't matter how high end or how wealthy your clients are, there is always a budget, and you have to stick to budget, right? So talk a little bit about, but they want everything perfect and top notch. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how you talk to your clients to let them understand what budget constraints there are and where you might need to make like compromises on that luxury style.
Sure. Well, yes, that's always one of the first conversations, right, with any client is no matter the budget, there's always a budget. And no matter what it is, it's usually never enough for the desire list that keeps growing. I'm a big fan of saying, let's focus the budget if we are working within a constrained budget
on a few spaces that really matter versus trying to spread it all out around a house. I think if the budget is tight, spreading the budget around is the surefire way to fail in every room because none of the rooms will be done. So I'd much rather encourage a client to like nail the public spaces, if you will, right? Nail the living room, the dining room, the primary suite, like the rooms that you really care about the most. And then other rooms, auxiliary spaces, like wait, like we can do a design plan and then you can chip away at purchasing that over time or call us back in 6 months or a year and be like, okay, I'm ready for the rest of it. Versus trying to achieve a little bit in every room and then nothing looks finished.
Megan, how about for you? How do you deal with your clients when you've got budget versus they want pie in the sky?
Yeah, so agree with Erin. You know, we decide budgets up front. So that is the first conversation I have with the client after consultation. So after going through all of their spaces, you know, I always ask them, what is your budget? And I'm sure you all can relate. I'd say like 90% of my clients say, I don't know. You tell me what I should spend. So then we put together their budgets based on space. So I break down, you know, entry, living room, dining room, and I give them all the pieces that I want to source for those spaces. And then I give them my suggested budget for each of those spaces based on the look that they want and the quality level that they want. And then typically I present that to them. I used to do it like over the phone or Zoom. And then I learned it was much more impactful if I had them actually come into our design studio, show them like samples, like kind of get them like super hyped to spend this much money. And then usually either on the spot or right after that, they'll come back to you and say, love what you presented, but I was actually thinking I want to spend this much. So they know the budget all along, right? But so that's kind of our process. And I always know, like going into that presentation, like they're going to come in 50 below or whatever I've just presented, like every single time.
Yeah.
So I kind of know that and plan for that. And then from there, once we know the budget, our design fee is a flat rate based on that furnishings budget. I'm not talking about like hard finishes, just soft finishes. So then our fee is just like a percentage of that. So they know what they're going to spend on our services. They know what they're going to spend on the product up front. So there's no coming in then at presentation day and showing them the budget and them going, oh my gosh, like that's not what we agreed upon. And it doesn't work in my favor because I just charged a flat rate for my services. So anyways, it's been a learning process, but it works for us and it keeps my client happy in the end. And I agree, just the budgets, like focus on those main spaces. I would say like 90% of our projects are the entry living, dining, kitchen, primary suite. I mean, that is like the main bread and butter of the house where we want to focus, and outdoor, of course.
Yeah.
Tom, where would you say, what rooms or what spaces where clients should not compromise on budget and why?
I mean, I think you look at sort of the lifestyle of the house, if it's a primary residence, if it's a family, what's the lifestyle? And so generally, you know, you're looking at, if it's a primary residence, you're looking at sort of the living room, entry, dining, family room, master bedroom, as sort of your primary spaces, and possibly the kitchen, depending on if they actually cook. But I always tell them, I'm like, look, if this is all the money you have, you need to rob a bank.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I really think that you want to be able to, you know, look, if it's a mountain house, a ski house, a beach house, depending on what's happening there, you can slice and dice it differently for a different property. And it has a different lifestyle. So it's not sort of a one size fits all. But I think, you know, when you're talking to your clients about sort of their budget and how to make it sort of go further, you know, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, look, this is what can happen in these primary sort of spaces, and the spaces that really are going to impact your lifestyle in this environment. But what we'll do is I'll say, if there's something that I think you should consider, that's going to be in a separate category. And then you guys can go home and you can sort of have them sort of a mud wrestling contest of whether you're going to be doing this with each other while you're laying in bed. And we don't need to be a part of that. And if you decide you want to spend an extra $30,000 on this dining table because you just can't live without it, then that's something you guys decide. And that does not come out of the actual budget that we're working on. So I sort of create I sort of reverse it on them and say, look, I know that you guys are going to be very interested in things that are probably beyond the budget that you are committing to. And I think it's clear based on the car you're driving and the airplane that has your name on it that you can afford these things. But it's up to you if you want to spend your money on them or if you want to take the family to Patagonia. So I'm like, so I look at them and say, it'll be up to you. And generally, at the end of the day, I think once they realize that you as a designer have their best interests and that they trust that you're showing them sort of like, look, if this is what we want to do in the dining room and this is what's going to work, here are the things that fit the budget that are really beautiful and are great. Here are the things that are really amazing that may take it up a level, whether that's the dining table or the light fixture or a beautiful vintage sideboard or antique. And then you give them the opportunity to feel like they're making that decision and it's not you sort of dictating it for them. And I think that sort of creates a trust. And then if that doesn't work, then you know that they're sort of playing games. And then you have to sort of, then you have to go in and show them things generally that they can't afford, knowing that you have the other things that they're going to buy in your back pocket. You kind of show them sort of like, this is what you really like it to be. And they're really excited about it, but it's too expensive. So then you say, here's a great option. And then that usually kind of helps. I think you have to look at it as sort of a conversation or a dialogue where if you're just giving them, like when you go into a meeting, giving them exactly the information that they want, that they're always going to come back, as you were saying, and say, 30% less. I'd like, you say the budget's 5 million or 1 million or 500,000 or whatever it is. We say million. Okay, well then we're going to say 800,000. Not because they have any insight into that 800. I don't think it really matters. It's sort of the game that's being played. So I think, it's important as a designer that you give them, you let them be the game is sort of it's a dialogue. Yeah. And you kind of get to a real place, I think, if you do that. And also if you're really sort of transparent with them, I would say 9 out of 10 times that works. You do very often get, every once in a while you do get a client that's overly complicated. And definitely it's like they're looking to create, sort of an obstacle that doesn't need to be there. So I just then charge hourly for that. I say, yeah, we can get you that, and then you charge hourly for all the running around. And then that usually stops that. They're like, what's this bill for? And they're like, that's because you're a pain in the ass.
And that you
PA
have
bill.
to pay, yes. That one you have to pay.
Not personal assistant.
Great. Christy, when you're working with clients and you're doing a whole house or even a primary room, like the living space, where do you start with your clients as far as what to focus on, like hard goods, soft goods? Tom mentioned this before. Like where do you bring them first? Because which of those is more important to allocate that budget toward?
Right. So for me and for my firm, we really focus a lot on custom upholstery, like truly made to our exact specifications. We have workrooms that do that because we really believe that it's very hard to find a one-size-fits-all piece. So I will take my client shopping, and that's where we put the majority of our money at first. So we have really good upholstery and actually really good paint, because those are the things that have to hold up, that you don't want to have to be replacing all the time. And then, so we fit upholstery pieces to them and have those made. Then we work into the other pieces that give a space personality. And, so then we can go to lighting, then we can go to tables and other pieces that don't have to take the pounding that upholstery does, or that a rug does, or that walls do. You don't want to have to be constantly fixing those things or replacing them. And then we end up taking those from home to home to home because our clients will hire us to do project after project. And they also understand, yeah, this sofa might cost you $10,000 right now when it's said and done, but guess what? It's going to go with you for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And so, you amortize that, and that's a great investment. Meanwhile, we can get you fabulous lights, at Feisy, or we can get you, we can go to these other places and give you a lot of look and balance things
Yeah,
out
kinda
that
balance it
way.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about anchor pieces when we're in that conversation, and I always say, look, a bedroom without a bed is just a room. A dining room without a dining table is just a room with chairs, and so like if you look at the anchor pieces that really define the space and make it sort of function, I feel like that is always a great place to start because that is the sort of the piece that those are kind of those sort of the anchor pieces of that room. And an anchor piece can be something very different to, it can be art for some clients. The anchor pieces can be upholstery because they're looking for a really comfortable environment. And an anchor pieces for another client could just be interesting mid-century or vintage or antique pieces because they love bringing that sort of element into the space. But I think using that term anchor pieces always helps me and the designers communicate about, so what do we think is most important for this client for this space in this room, and then we kind of start with those pieces because it can be different for each project.
And anchor pieces are so important, but do you, like anchor pieces that can be like moved in after, like furniture and lighting and things like that, do you start there or do you start with the construction part of it? Because obviously there's more to it than just bringing in beautiful furniture a lot of the time, right? So, so Megan, I was going to ask you this question. What do you do when, like, do you source those anchor pieces early on in the process? And then what happens though if something that there's foundation work that needs to be done and oops, $20,000 goes in another direction? How do you handle something like that?
So really the project starts with the finish selections. So when you're doing the finishes, you're talking about the paint colors, the tile, the countertops, the hardware, the lighting. And I always tell my clients, like, I can't make all of those decisions without knowing what the soft finishes are that come after that, because they all play together and all work off of each other. So for me and my firm, I've decided not to just do hard finishes. We want to do everything. And so that way, I know the light fixture that's going to be hanging over that anchor piece, maybe that's the coffee table. And I can't make the decision for the light piece without knowing what's going to be underneath it. So
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would just say, doing hard and soft finishes for me has been key in figuring out what those anchor pieces are. I don't see how I could do it without knowing every component.
Erin, same question. How do you handle like your client? How do you handle your clients as far as understanding like a contingency or whatever, what could happen that will take it away? And are you sourcing all of your furniture and those things early on and, putting those orders in before like where things could go?
I think with budget conversations, like for me, it comes down to trying to create the best look, right? And I know that a large rug is going to do that always. So I'll tell them, like, you might not get your absolute favorite rug, but you're going to get the best rug for this room for your budget. And that conversation I think sometimes shifts their mind from them thinking they get to pick their favorite thing in every element to it's really a whole, and a room is the sum of all the parts. And I would much rather you have a huge, inexpensive rug that looks great. Like I'm super into these like chunky white woven jutes. You can get like a 12 by 15 for $900. And it's massive and it looks amazing. But knowing that I need to do with design like towards that rug are going to change the selections I make on top of it. So I have those kind of conversations when budget's an issue up front versus ordering some like 8 by 10 really expensive silk rug that they're obsessed with that's not going to really work in this giant room. So I think those kind of conversations guide the design early on, knowing where my weak points in my budget might be. You know, is it some people will spend on a rug, others think it's ridiculous. Some people will spend on art, others want to go to Z Gallery. So like I think that's kind of the psychology early on that you have to figure out too when with every client. We had a $10 million house and he just wouldn't buy art. He just thought art was dumb.
Yeah.
You know, and you were like, what are you going to put on these massive walls? And he's like, I literally had a bunch of horrible stuff from a place. And I was like, can we just up your game like slightly? I won't go crazy, but like,
Yeah.
please. So we were finding local artists they were real paintings, you know, that he could get for $1,000 to $5,000 for a giant piece for his living room, right? Which was like pulling teeth to get him to understand that this mattered and that his poster from college was no longer acceptable. But, you know, I think so. Scale for me is that conversation of like luxury look for less. And then I shift my design choices based on what we're going to have to work with, be it that hard to find massive rug or a hard to find massive piece of art at a very low budget.
I mean, I also think that when you're choosing those pieces for the house, sometimes you can look at the actual architecture as, you know, sort of a composition in and of itself. So I very often try to do, whether we're working with an architect or working with the architects in our office directly, or a renovation, or if it's a new build, really looking at sort of designing the kitchens and the bathrooms and the stone floors, or, you know, porcelain or whatever their products that are being chosen based on the lifestyle again and the budget and all of those things. It really is looking at the architecture as sort of a single sort of sculpture or piece, sort of knowing what the vision is of the interior. So very often what we'll do is we kind of create a look and feel at the beginning of the project with the clients that has nothing to do with their architecture, nothing to do with the actual pieces that we're going to be selecting, and just kind of creating sort of a vision of what we think this project, sort of the point of view or the vibe of that project will be, because that's enough information without knowing exactly what sofa or exactly which coffee table that you're going to be selecting. It gives you enough information that you can choose the countertops and the floors and choose some of the lighting, sort of the general lighting, maybe not the final pieces for the main staircase or a dining room or an entrance hall or something like that, but like the general lighting, you know? So I think that is kind of another way to look at it, is that the architecture can be kind of a piece in and of itself based off of sort of a vision or a vibe of what the final piece would look like.
Thank you. Christy had mentioned that custom upholstery is very important because that's going to get a lot of wear and tear. Are there categories that the three of you will not compromise budget on? It like has to be the best quality and the higher end because it's
Liquor. You just get so sick.
Just fall afterwards.
no, I meant in home furnishings.
I know, but it's the only way to get through a project.
The mental health line.
I agree with upholstery is always a non-negotiable. I also agree with, I'd say wine. You guys for sure. But definitely the upholstery for sure. Most of my clients have kids and pets. So I would say 99% of the time it is a performance fabric on that upholstery. Now that everyone knows about performance fabrics in our world, like they want that. And there is
also now the performance fabrics look like
great.
they actually they look and feel great.
Exactly.
That's also another.
And then if it's not a performance fabric, it's usually not on like their main sofa. Maybe it's on an accent piece. And then still, we have a local company called FiberSeal. We come in and they spray everything that's not a performance fabric. So that's a great little tip if you need something like that. Clients love that because it kind of makes it a performance fabric. But I would say the upholstery number one, and then rugs too. Like we'll use a bigger grounding rug, like you were saying, like a big sisal or something that we can get like at a super great price. And then maybe we'll layer over it a smaller vintage, really cool rug that brings in that color, that texture that's just going under the coffee table. So like that's a great way to save on budget. But rugs and upholstery are the ones that I don't skimp on because that's going to go the long haul. And then paint, that was such a great, when you said paint, like a light bulb went off. So when we spec paint, we always tell our clients to get like the durable or scrubbable, finish for their walls, especially for doing white. That's another nice tip if you have clients who are like with little kids and pets
Yeah.
and they're terrified. We always spec that type of paint because Magic Eraser just doop, gets that right
Yeah.
off. So-
Eggshell is the best. I mean, flat paint is beautiful, but nightmare.
I always do performance fabrics on beds just because I'm an optimist.
You know what, Tom? I want to know, is the liquor for the clients or is the liquor for you?
And do you share?
Thank you. Aaron, how about for you? What are the categories that you won't skip on budget? You really need that high end. And then we get to the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, as a predominantly case goods designer, I think that kind of back to my big rugs thing is like big furniture in a big space. So we tend to do a custom coffee table that's huge if the seating group needs it. A really big entry console if the entry needs it. When I was designing the line for Universal, I was like, we can't make apartment sized furniture. It needs to. Homes are big.
Yeah.
Bedside tables for
Right.
me are never less than 36. Like they're huge
Yeah.
because bed walls are big. So that's important. And being in LA and having like workrooms at your fingertips, it's easier for us to, achieve some really incredible, impressive pieces at a value. I also really like to find like cool vintage chairs and recover them because I think chairs can have so much personality. And so I find really great shapes and then I'll put like a really incredible fabric on them. And that'll be like often a splurge for the living room by the time you buy the chairs and then you recover them and you buy the fabric, But I think that creates a lot of pizzazz and style. Table lamps also, to me, I think have so much personality. And those are areas that I don't like to have some just super ordinary
Right.
thing.
That's great. So talk to me a little bit about so you guys want to find out where they shop and find all the things that they find so they can balance that budget. Talk to me a little bit about how you come to what you come to market with. How do you plan? Because you need that high end stuff, and you also know that you need pieces that are going to work in spaces that are not going to break the budgets and they are going to be more attainable. Christy, talk to me a little bit about how you plan for market so that you can find everything that you need or other resources, not necessarily at market either, your other resources for that.
Right. So always I spend a good day and a half at Antiques at the Market Square because I can just find such fantastic things. And those are the pieces that really make, for me, personality in a space. And I include antiques and contemporary pieces in all my projects. And I go scope things out day one or day two. And then I go on the last day because people do not want to take it home. And that's when you're going to get your very best deal from any antique dealer, any flea market. Always start early, pinpoint a few things, have the conversation with somebody, and then go back later. If it's something you have to have, then you got to get it. But if you can wait, absolutely do, because you're going to save so much money. They're going to be willing to do deals. So that's always on my docket. But then Chelsea House, is Global Views, Arteriors are always places that I go to look for really great lighting, really great accent pieces, things that just are going to really help me balance the budget and, speak to the client's personality in a fun way, but it's easy.
Tom, how about for you? How do you plan for a market so that you can make sure that you have a balance of vendors to work with that will meet all price points?
I think that it's not so much planning for just market, but I just think in general, being interested in really everything that's out there and being curious, because it's interesting to me that every market when I go to a place that I've walked by a million times and I see one thing, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let me just pop in and see what else they have. You find one thing that you're like, this is amazing. The price is incredible. And I need to have this. And so you find these like there's places that a lot of times I'm shopping with other designers. They're like, oh my God, I don't go there. I don't go here. I don't go here. I've never been there. I'm like, really? You've never like wanted to just pop in and just walk in and say hello and just know what they're doing, even if you don't like it. So I think being curious and being interested, and actually just sort of going in and introducing yourself and saying hello to somebody, you never know what you're going to find. And there are the obvious places that we all know about,
Right.
that everyone goes, that everyone knows that they have, whether it's the antique, market, or now there's the Chelsea market. There's 214. I mean, there's places that we kind of all know about. But I think that there are people, there's new people sort of, becoming a part of the program every year or a couple of years. And it's really great to sort of welcome them, say hello, and sort of see what they're up to. And you find things that you weren't seeing a market before. And it's interesting to me that a lot of designers sort of do what they typically do, what their comfort zone is. So there's new things that are happening that
Completely
you can
agree.
be sort of, you're kind of on the, the early side of a new good thing. So it's kind of fun. So I just think in general, being interested, and sort of, looking, scratching the surface a little bit more
Right.
than just doing sort of what everyone else is doing.
But I
usually
also
pays off.
don't you think, I mean, I talk to my friends all the time. Like I'll talk to Aaron, or other friends, other design colleagues that are around and say, hey, have you seen anything recently that's,
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
we are each other's best resource
Yeah.
for finding that
Yeah,
new thing.
yeah, for sure. Agreed. Yes. I mean, and I think that, but you have to, sometimes you're asking people that just go to the same six places.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
And you're asking them if there's anything new and exciting. And they're like, oh, and you're kind of getting honest response, hopefully, about the things that they're seeing. But, it is great to sort of see what's new and what's happening. Some markets, you find some great things, and sometimes you don't.
Right.
Yeah, and Market is a very big place. I mean, anywhere you go, it's a very big place, but here it's a
Yeah.
ridiculously big place.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge to go in. It's fun to go in and see new things.
Yeah.
But on that note, and what you said too, Chrissy, Megan, I was going to ask you, how do you determine what new places you want to go to? Because obviously we can't go to all of them, right?
I agree that the Suites at Market Square is always a place where we go to search for new small vendors. And this year I noticed they have like these big red flags on the signs down the aisles that say new vendors. So you can
Yeah,
like kind of go
right.
right to them. But I will say a new upholstery vendor that we've started using since last market is Coley Home. They are there at the Suites at Market Square. Fantastic line of upholstery, all customizable, well, COM customizable with their silhouettes, but lead times are crazy fast. I think she's like the granddaughter of Lee. Like, so there's like a lot of family connections, which is really cool. And it's just a family owned business. And I just love finding like those kind of places that are just small and starting out and new, and the price points are really great. So that was a great find for us. But just talking about like a couple vendors where you can save, like typically we'll do a commission piece of artwork in that main space. And then for a lot of the other spaces and bathrooms, we'll use Wendover art, Left Bank art, or Celadon art. So we'll come to market and make sure we hit those showrooms so that you can see all those art pieces in person. I think that's really important. And then lighting also is a place where we can save. Hudson Valley Lighting has an amazing collection. If you haven't been to their showroom, they have basically everything at such good price points. And then my design team just walked through the showroom here and just saw so many amazing case good pieces that we're going to use for projects like the Burlwood coffee table, the Miranda Kerr collection. I think that retails at like $1,100. I mean, crazy. And then like your beautiful white table, well, I want to use it as an entry table, but
That
it's just
table.
like the price points
Yeah.
here are just incredible. So those are just a few vendors that we love where we can save on some pieces that look amazing.
Yeah.
Erin, when you find those new vendors, and I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, but when you find those new vendors that you're going to be working with that have those great price points, How do you vet the quality of the products though to make sure that when you get them, they're going to be as beautiful and as wonderful and work as well in your clients' homes as you expect them to?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point of being at market, right? Is to really like I sit test every single piece of seating if I'm interested in it. And if it doesn't sit well, I don't take a picture of it. And that's also how I know when I go back and I look through all my photos. If I have a photo of a chair, a bar stool, a sofa, I sat in it and it sat well.
right.
And I, squeezed and felt comfortable with it. I've used their Universal's outdoor furniture collection. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
like, it's such a good price point because outdoor
it
furniture
is
can
great.
be
It's
outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
And I have, very fancy designers
Yeah.
and friends coming over being like, where is this outdoor furniture? I'm like, you would never imagine how affordable it is. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
So I love that.
But don't you think it's also about a mix? I mean, I just feel like,
Yeah.
every project has, it's also your client, it's like if they're wearing, very expensive shoes and a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and a great jacket, that they're going to relate to the idea of having some really fun concrete, sort of white concrete outdoor pieces that are not terribly expensive, but are really stylish, mixed in with some pieces that they love and they couldn't live without. And then introducing them to some really great new woven pieces that are also kind of affordable around that dining table they couldn't live without. So I think you create this sort of mix for
Yes.
your clients that's a combination of what they're excited about and getting them excited about things that they didn't know about that that will sort of bridge the gap in terms of the budget, and you create that sort of high, medium, and low. And look, if it's a young couple starting out, it's mostly low, a little bit of medium, and maybe nothing high. Maybe just me, the decorator. I don't know. I admit it. But anyway, but no. But the thing is that it depends. And so at that client, as you were saying, becomes your client. 8 years later in another property, their mix may be different because their financial situation is different. Their kids are out of college, whatever the situation is. But it is, it's not a one size fits
Yes.
all. So it's really looking at, if it's outdoors in a place where the furniture is going to be abused terribly, if it's oceanfront in the Bahamas, that it's not a good idea to make a huge investment in that location.
Right.
Get great quality, but find things like the line here is absolutely incredible. It's a really great diversity of materials, and it's really stylish. The proportions are great. The quality is great. So you can use those pieces in a situation where you have to maybe replace them every 3 years. But if they're going to, if you're putting them outside in Aspen,
Yeah.
it's like
Right.
they go inside for the entire, there's not that crazy. So there's places where you can get away with it where there's not salt air and stuff like that. So you can, spend a little bit.
But I would also suggest that you talk to the showroom managers and say, hey, is there anything on the floor that you're selling off the floor? Because often there are, and that might have a little ding, or it might have some slight imperfection because
That's
it's
great you
been.
put in it.
That's great that I put in it right on the back because
This
I
one has a
wanted
big
it.
stripe on it. See?
I'm going to do that to Erin's
Right.
table. So
Can
I
you
can
do
take
I
that?
made it custom. Yes, it's custom now.
I was going to say too, you mentioned low, medium, high budgets. Going back to like building that initial budget for your client, when I give them this is your budget based on each space, I also have a budget worksheet in their packet that includes those low, medium, and high budgets by item. So I'll have like console table, dining chair, dining table, and I give them the low, medium, high cost so that when we're looking at the dining room budget and they're like, how did you come up with this number? I take them to that
Right.
little worksheet and say, okay, I chose medium level 8 dining chairs. I chose high level dining table. So I show them exactly where those numbers come from. And I think that helps them
Right.
understand that mix of like
Yeah.
low and high too, and like where I'm going high and where I'm planning on going lower.
Well, the
Just
other
saying I want a blank check.
Yeah. Well, the other, this is a great trick. What you can do is if you show them like 2 sofas, right? The one that they originally were looking at, that's, $12,000. And then let's say one from here, right? that's a really great price point. They choose the one from here. Now, you in your budget, you're already budgeting for the other one because that's what they wanted. You can say, okay, well, we're going to take that $7,000 and move it over here and then have that as a slush fund to do interesting other layers, or maybe purchase something that they're really excited about. So you can kind of, every once in a while you sort of find some cash that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we make those clever replacements all the time. We're
Yeah,
like, wait,
yeah.
but I really want to buy this too. Okay,
Yeah.
swap that, change
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like to give them a budget. I do the same, like upfront, every piece, and I put a range. So our software, you can put a range, and then you can replace it with your actual costs later, and it just retallies everything and shows you where you're over and under per room.
Yeah.
So it keeps you really on track if you are like very specifically trying to hit a number. And I always put at least 15 to 20% like overage at the bottom, just for those things that you didn't know were going to come up, or what extra costs. But I agree with Christy too. I always ask, like the higher end showrooms too, do you have a sample sale? Do you have things off the floor? Do you have an old trade show sample sitting in the back of this fabulous light that you don't want anymore? And you'd be surprised what people will be like, well, actually, we have this whole room of fantastic things that have big discount available right now.
Talk a little bit about that. What are some of the resources, like off market, when you're not at market, when you're on a project and you're in a space? What are some of the resources that you use to find those kinds of pieces and to find the things that you need? You're talking about going into a furniture showroom or coming to a sample sale, that type of thing. Where else can you find great products that are at affordable prices that will wow the customer, but don't break your bank?
I found a lot of great stuff on Etsy and Craigslist. Like put an intern on a Craigslist crawl and just be like, anything remotely cool, I don't care what it is that we need, just show it to me, because you'll be shocked what you can get. That people are moving and they're like, get rid of it. I've gotten beautiful chinoiserie cabinets and secretaries for like $150 because they're just like, come and get it right now. And that thing would be $3,000 minimum anywhere else and up. Mirrors, outdoor cool furniture, metal stuff, like great stuff. And they're just like, pick it up today, get it gone. So we'll just crawl those every once in a while when we're looking for things and keep them in your arsenal of great products. And then you can make a big markup on those things too when you get them for $10, but it's really $150 box,
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say Etsy, too, is a big resource for us for custom pillows. So, there's so many wonderful vendors on Etsy that are doing Schumacher fabric pillows. Any designer fabric. And we've done the math. We've done them ourselves. And for whatever reason, they are doing it for much less. So we get pretty much all now of our custom pillows off of Etsy. So that's a huge, huge savings when it comes to the pillow budget. And then also artwork. So in Charleston, we have so many like local artists and makers and that are just like dying for you to use their artwork on a project. So I always on Instagram, like I'm searching for those local artists and I'll save them under an art file so that I can go back and resource from it when needed. But when we have a project where we want a custom piece of art and we know that they don't have the $5,000 to $10,000 budget for that piece, we go back to those local artists who are just looking for a start. Like they will do it for any price, honestly. And if you also framing, just getting a nice float frame on that, usually we can get for like $300. So finding your local artist, getting just a pretty gallery float frame around it, you could get, around $1,100, $1,200.
And I would say having a great framer in your back pocket is one of the best assists you can ever have, because you can make a $3 piece of junk look like a $300,000 piece of art if it's framed correctly. And I've had to do that with clients' art. But that's like,
fun.
those things are really, they make a huge difference. Consignment stores, if you find a piece that's got the right lines, grab it, you can paint it. I ebonize so many pieces of furniture that look, like a $5 piece of, whatever. And you ebonize it. And again, it's the same thing. It looks like it's $1 million. Amazing. And then adding black into your decor, it's the same thing. It just elevates. It's a crazy thing. But black is a killer.
I would say
addition.
also back to painting. That's like most builders and most anyone, they choose super white paint and it always looks terrible. It's too cold.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
all of your greens and your beiges look dirty and dingy. And the amount of times I just go and put white Dove from Benjamin Moore
Yes.
on
Yeah.
the walls
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the ceiling and the trim.
Yep.
And it's suddenly the whole house doesn't feel cheap anymore
Yeah, yeah,
because
it's
you've
true.
just gotten rid of that shocking, awful white that
That I don't.
Builder
yeah.
X
I don't know if
does
that
every
paint's
home.
free. I don't understand why they use it.
I know. It's like
Exactly.
primer.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
I will say, like, bright white is a very popular color in my area, like in
terrible.
Charleston.
So
But
Oh, no, but there are different bright whites.
Yeah.
There's like that blue.
That's
painter,
what
like,
Yeah.
the blue
everyone
one.
wants.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think a great simple white.
Yeah.
There's many of them.
Just a
But-
warm white, and
right,
then all
like
your
a-
lampshades
yeah,
don't look
yeah,
dingy.
yeah,
It's
like
still
silver
it's
satin
still a
is
white
great.
house. It's not
Yeah.
pretty.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not Swiss cotton.
But I
right,
think
you
what
know.
you're talking about, what like sort of spec home white.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they put it
That's
everywhere.
bad.
Right.
Yeah, it's very bad.
It's probably the ceiling paint, the ceiling
Yeah.
white, and then they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put it everywhere.
Yeah.
So really quick, because we're running out of time in a few minutes, and I think everybody is here to find out where you find your best bargains when you know the vendors that you work with that do the best for you from that high-low perspective. So if you guys can share just a couple of people that you work with that where you find great finds and the price point doesn't break the bank. Christy, start with you,
So for me, it's definitely Wildwood and Chelsea House. Absolutely.
and that's for accessories and accent furniture.
Accessories, accent furniture, lighting. Yeah, they just kind of cover a whole great bandwidth.
I find that with a lot of the people that we work with and we have great working relationships with, they also have warehouses of furniture that, like you were saying, that have dings in them or that were from market that, you know, just maybe didn't sell. They decided not to, and so they have the original samples. So we just kind of tap into those things whenever we're doing show houses or different things that we want to just kind of move those products pretty quickly.
Megan?
I shared a lot of mine, I think, already, but our top are probably Universal, Gabby Furniture, Hudson Valley Lighting, Four Hands. We use a ton of Four Hands outdoor furniture. Very easy price point, simple stuff. Dovetail is a great vendor for us. And then Japure rugs. We love Japure and Leloy. Those have been wonderful vendors for us. I'm sure I'm missing a ton, but those are.
You need Faisy too because Thomas is Faisy.
It's great.
Erin, how about for you?
I would say also Global Views. You know, I know they've been a big name forever, but like they make just shockingly awesome stuff, and
Yeah.
especially big accessories. And they've gotten
Yeah.
really into these beautiful,
Totally.
warm, matte, natural finishes that I love so much. And I was just there yesterday, and they have these gorgeous white and black and neutral vases. I'm like, I mean, I could use them in every project all the time, and the price is amazing. Flow Decor, they make great lamps at a just
Yeah.
shockingly low price.
Yeah, they're really
They're
yeah, they
really
have great
cute.
lighting.
Yeah.
Visual Comfort is another fave for, you know, all the right reasons. Classic Home actually has some really cute pieces too that I found. Like they've got some like really mod trendy chairs that are very comfortable. And of course, you know, Universal Dovetail is great. I
Yeah.
bought some new things
Yeah.
from them too. And
And sometimes with those
surprised.
kind of like really of the moment pieces that people only really will have for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to just do something that's
Yeah.
Yep.
that can
Trendy and
that can move
affordable.
into like the fraternity house situation.
And Curry and Company for their accessories because they have an art dealer that they work with who's sourcing, you know, completely unusual, one of a kind pieces for every single market. And it's you grab it because it'll be gone. But if you want something really unique and unusual, in addition to their lighting, they're just a great unexpected resource.
Same with Arteriors and Regina Andrew. Their lighting obviously is beautiful, but accessories are awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for everybody for joining us. And thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Erin Valencic, Megan Moulton, Tom Felicia, and Christy Nelson for all of their wonderful insights.
Thanks,
This was a
guys.
great conversation. I appreciate
Thanks for
it
being
so
here.
much. So.